Welcome to Collingwood Rant. I'm Sly.
And it's been 10 times spook, not 10 wins, but 10 times we tried to get this fucking podcast to work.
Oh, you said podcast. Is it still working?
Yes, it seemed to be the bad, evil word. So yes, we're podcasting because I got something that isn't COVID.
Oh, is it Mark Robinsonitis?
Is that disease of the nether regions?
You turn into a gigantic merkin and masquerade as one of the humans.
Yeah, I went to the doctor today and said, "What's this strange thing on my clitoris?" He said, "Your face."
That doesn't quite work.
It is for Mark Robinson.
Spook.
Yes.
That fug, Nick Dacos. How dare he strike Travis Boak with an elbow to the back? That's never been done before pre-game in football hustle and bustle. How dare...
I'll preface where this conversation is about to head with this statement that I didn't think that the umpiring fraternity could out themselves any worse than they did last week. And then there was this week.
Yeah, and it was amazingly bad. It's almost like if I was a conspiracy theorist, it's almost like the AFL are sending a message and saying, you want to come for us, Collingwood, we'll come back to you.
Could be onto something there.
Because that Nick Dacos thing was the most fucking absurd thing I've seen since Mark Robinson and AFL 360.
Footy's been going for, about 140 years, and blokes have been niggling each other before the first bounce since dot.
Well,
then you find a free out of this, you gift Port a goal, and then after the fucking game, you fine him.
Yep. So Nathan Buckley and Nick Rewalt were very bemused by that being paid. All you see is fucking bustle between players niggling each other. You see worse things than that happen when players sling one another in melees and all that sort of shit. But that was the one which drew the ire of the umpires and said, well, we're going to pay a free because this guy's a thug. This guy's got a history of thuggery. Let's put a stop to this right now.
Did you see the footage from behind, though? It's not like Travis Boak sort of played it like his kidneys have been ruptured.
Oh, well,
Takes a big man to get beaten up by an 18-year-old.
I think he's 19 now, isn't he?
Well, there you go. Maybe that's
he's
gone up. He's gone up into the welterweight division.
Oh, yeah, and as you poignantly pointed out, that fucking umpiring is the most diabolical spectacle that I've seen since Nathan Buckley's game plan last year. How the shit that they pull out and the shit that they ignore, and then suddenly they'll go, oh, hang on, here's one. We'll pay this one. And it was just hideously bad for that 3 and a bit quarters. In the last quarter, they tried to even it out. Then there was this one passage of play out at our half forward line where I think Port players tackled our players about 19 times in a row and didn't get one hold in the fucking ball decision. And then they pulled out some scrag and said, we'll give that one. And then there was that Charlie Dixon one at the end. It's like, well, Dixon's been pushing for 100 minutes. He's not going to get away with this for 101 minutes. Let's pay one finally. And then give a 50 against him. What fucking merit do these wankers have to be so arbitrary and fucking haphazard with their arbitrations? It's bizarre.
It is bizarre. There's something to your conspiracy theory that it's a slap down to get people to shut up. But it's ridiculous. But it's surely that would have the opposite effect.
Well, hang on. Let's have a look at this. About 4 weeks ago, abysmal fuckheads like Mark Robinson were condemning Jack Ginnivan. Now, 4 weeks forward on, abysmal fuckhead like Mark Robinson still condemning him. But other people are coming out and going, well, hang on, it's obvious you're judging this kid differently to everyone else. You're adjudicating him differently. The Mason Redmond one from last week, which the Bear he very eloquently pointed out was a fucking free kick. You had people like Lee Matthews come out really angry and go, how the fuck that's not a free kick? Sorry, I'm translating for him. Jared Healy came out and said the same thing. Ross Lyon came out and said the same thing. Matthew Lloyd came out and said the same thing. These are all football people. Meanwhile, fuckwits on Twitter are going, oh, hang on, no, he asked for it. if you said that on Twitter, you're a fuckhead. Because I know people have said it. You get all these footballing people, who are legends in the game, who are fucking going, no, this kid's being umpired differently. And meanwhile, some other idiot in the media is still pushing the whole, well, he's brought it on himself. Not victim.
Who would that fuckwit be?
Oh, geez, I wonder. Why the AFL do not hold any journalists accountable for fucking sensationalistic and hypocritical condemnations of fucking players, which could actually impact their mental health and well-being. But I guess for some people, they don't actually understand mental health and well-being, because it's like, oh, well, Jack Ginnivan posted a picture of him getting choked out on Instagram, so he must be 100% fine. How dare he?
Yeah, isn't that the same logic he applied to for Solo? That, how dare he suggest he's got mental health issues and turn up to training and smile?
Yeah. Seriously, this guy is a fucking gutter of journalism. No, actually, he's not the gutter of journalism. He's the gutter of humanity. And meanwhile, people like Fox Footy and that will just go, well, we'll back him. Like they backed Tom Morris until some other shit came out about him. And then they said, well, now you're fired. It's these people are starting to get slagged off. There's actually been a bit of an uproar in the fucking media, like people actually saying, hey, what's going on with this fucking gutter journalism? And these wankers are still going for it because they wank on with impunity, and nobody holds them accountable enough that they fear for their fucking jobs. There was a game, wasn't there?
But yeah, there was a game on, I was going to say.
Yeah, so kicked a couple, and then Port just kicked the next 6. Jeez, those swings of momentum. Hopefully Brodie Grundy can arrest them.
To be fair, though, I think there was a few dubious frees that resulted in them goaling. I don't think it sort of speaks volumes massively in the difference of the game, but it was annoying. Like in terms, not annoying to obviously win, but there were periods there where I was, and this is more about the annoyance, is that I can't go through these fucking close finishes anymore. I thought there was a period there in the last we're going to kick away, and we just didn't. They come back, but Port's, they've been traveling pretty well. So that game, you sort of almost expected that to happen.
Oh, look, I don't. Some people go, oh, how'd you just beat North, and how'd you just beat Adelaide? Adelaide beat Carlton.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, well, it's a tough ask over there to play Adelaide. And North, in that 2-week period, they were really good. They played well against us. They beat Richmond the following week. So, I think a lot of position can be misleading because sometimes teams get their shit together. The one,
especially at the end of the season,
the one that pisses me off is the West Coast, fucking loss, because that was shit. They had that all bookended by fucking 10-goal losses. They had half the team out. They had a couple of guys back who were hadn't played in 9 years, and we just couldn't get over the top of them. But having said that, I do wonder how much of a motivator was that loss to our close wins now? Well, does that drive the players on going, well, if we fuck that up, let's not fuck up another one? So you don't know.
The super catalyst.
Oh, it could be, So I'm not as big a critic of just beating lower teams when they've been playing well, because it's like, well, they're providing that form against other teams.
Oh, look, I mean, if you map this season out to today at the start of the year, you take it every fucking day of the week.
Yeah, my
close wins or not, it's 4 points. Look, the only damaging thing is your percentage, but just keep winning. It doesn't matter then. My
bigger concern is this trend we have of just surrendering momentum. And this thing about everyone's looking at Grundy to fix the midfield issues. Yeah, because he's never got 90 taps and missed one of our own midfielders. So this will fix it definitely. The bigger problem, I believe, when I watched that midfield, I don't know what you call that, midfield surrender or resignation, is the opposition just vaults it out, and we're nowhere near any of them. They just jog it out and fucking kick it long. And you look for a Collingwood player, and they're all overcommitted. They're all wrong-sided. It's like our midfield setups don't seem to be right. That seems to be more of an issue than losing some taps. And what's happened throughout the whole year, even when Grundy was there, is the opposition midfield just get on top, and then they just keep waltzing it out. We saw it against Geelong, what was it, about 16 rounds ago? We saw it against St Kilda in round 1. We just lose momentum, and the opposition midfield gets on top to the extent that we don't even touch the fucking ball. So one player's not going to come back and fix that. And that was the thing I was really annoyed about in this game. It was just like, look, you're on top. It feels like we're in control, and you just let them back in.
Yeah, that was concerning. But I just don't think you can do that backs against the wall thing every week, unless, of course, we've done it every week for the last 8 weeks.
Well, the thing you got to look at too is there's 2 games where we didn't do this, and they were against Fremantle and Melbourne. We effectively played pretty much 100% of the game against both, and we won. Those 2 are the 2 ones we won convincingly. We won one by about 4 goals, the other one by about 5 goals. So, mate,
that's a blowout for us these days.
I was a blowout this week to win by a goal after winning by under a goal for 4 weeks in a row. But I do wonder if the players tend to relax a little bit and lets the opposition back in, and then they have to sort of ramp back up to get back on top. Because it seemed when they were playing better opposition, the intensity was maintained for much longer. And we actually never allowed Fremantle and Melbourne to have those momentum swings. I mean, Melbourne was beating us early, but we got back on top, and Fremantle were just pretty much on top from the beginning. So I do wonder, why these momentum lapses are happening.
It's an interesting one. Like I thought in the last quarter, we looked tired there for a while. And we were sort of just had no offensive pressure up forward at all to keep the ball in. I think that the defenders and the mids were doing well to drive it forward. And as soon as it got up there, it sort of spilled, or the possessions were sloppy, whatever. And it just kept going back. And it was, punch, counter punch, punch, counter punch. And then unfortunately, I think Port ended up getting on the end of a couple, which then, gave them a little bit of a sniff. Even with a minute to go, when Burgoyne goal, you're thinking, oh, fuck, again?
Yeah.
And you're thinking again, I think it was about 10 minutes out, I was thinking, we're not going to do this again, are we?
Well, you actually said it. You actually messaged us and go, they're not going to win this easy. They're going to give us another heart attack. And this is exactly what we did. But what'll happen?
You couldn't think for a second that's a strategy, but
no,
clearly that when they get in that position, they seem to think that it's like Hulk Hogan waking from a coma in the middle of
that's a good
WrestleMania 3. He just does the old wild stare and off they go. But I'm not sure whether that's the sort of thing that you want to take into finals. But like in the next 3 weeks will be very, very interesting in that regard, because I don't think we'll be doing this again.
Oh, we'll see. Who's really going to help that forward 50 defensive pressure?
Who?
Brodie Grundy.
He's the answer to all our
He's
problems.
answering. Look, I hope Grundy comes back and dominates. I'm really curious how this goes, because the chemistry changes. And the one thing, I mean, Cox didn't have a great game, but he still took a few telling marks.
Which he usually does.
Yeah, Cameron took a few good marks.
Kicked a couple of good goals.
Yeah, again, that's not really Grundy's MO. So, and the thing I like about Cox is doing it. I don't think the midfield's aware, but Cox just goes, I'm just going to thump it 15, 20 meters. And then the midfield's like, we should probably have a signal if you're going to do this, because everyone's taken by surprise. But I actually like that instead of just dumping the ball and making another scrap fight, he goes over the pack. So I mean, Grundy will no doubt come back. And I think Cox will probably be the one that goes. But I'm not sold that this partnership's going to work with Grundy. And the other thing with Grundy has shown he's a much better ruckman when he does the bulk of the rucking, not when he does 50%.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, thanks for that comment. Jack Ginnivan, he kicked 3 goals early, got his head taken off.
Clearly he does have mental health issues. Well,
I love about Ginnivan. Anytime he gets his head taken off, it's just like, that was holding the ball. It's amazing. It's just, it's holding the ball. Fuck this. How dare you hold it? And I liked his interview at the post-game where he did talk about his mental health and mental well-being, because getting your head ripped off, 2-3 times a game, I don't know, surely it's going to hurt. And people are now speaking out against it. Craig McRae, he's come out and said, well, hey, we will take care of him if you don't, implied threat. Scott Pendlebury came out recently and just said, look, he's being umpired differently. And you get the few idiots who are still sort of going, oh, well, he deserves it. well, they're idiots for one. But it's like, there are times where I was watching the fucking replay and the commentators were not treating him having his head taken off as like he's ducked. They were just looking at it like, hey, I think he might have deserved the free there, but he's still not fucking getting him.
No, and then within minutes you have pretty clear examples of other players doing similar things in that game that were getting paid it. And like Pendle said in that interview on Triple M, he goes, the play stops because everyone thinks that, well, that's a free. We're all setting up for the goal kick, and then all of a sudden you realise that the game's still playing.
Yeah,
if the players themselves are all fucking universally confused, there's only a couple of dickheads out there that are getting it wrong.
Well, there was also examples in the games before ours where that fucking free was being paid, even though you're done. It actually really shits me out, this fucking interpretation by, and the wankers pushed this, like, oh, he lifted the shoulder. And it's like, okay, so you get tackled and you should just, stay still. You're not allowed to try and shrug it off or push it off or break out of it and all that sort of stuff. You should just remain motionless so they can hold you even better. I would have thought that a natural motion, if someone grabs you on the upper forearm, would be to shrug your shoulder to try and push him off. If it pushes it high, then bad luck. But apparently that's a fucking bad thing. And then you get Lee Matthews coming out and going, if you know you're going to get tackled, you do tend to tuck yourself in to brace for the impact and all that sort of stuff. So you do tend to go lower. But hey, we've got to listen to idiots like fucking Robinson constantly defend this shit and claim, hey, if he plays the ball, the umpires will take care of him. Well, he's been playing the ball and the umpire's not taking care of him. So you're full of shit.
That is just fucking indignant that he's been told by a number of sources not to talk about it. How dare they? He's slobbo. He can say whatever he fucking wants.
And he does.
Bob jockey.
The goey, geez, last week against Essendon, they just waltzed it out of the middle. You throw the goey in there and it starts to sort of balance it out, and we do better in the midfield. Who would have thought that this guy, the thing that was most impressive about his game was his defensive efforts. He was fucking chasing, he was looking like McCreary at times. He was chasing people down who were miles away to try to apply pressure and all that sort of shit. But
I think he ended up getting the coaches' votes for best on, didn't he?
Did he? I don't pay attention to everyone. He might have. Don't know. But I thought anyone who talks about trading him is like, fuck, just look what he brings. And people go, oh, I'll bring Taranto and that'll fix it. It's like, well, you're getting rid of one player and bringing another. So you haven't really added the depth for anything. You've just possibly brought in a good replacement. Maybe, we don't know.
You're bringing someone who's just going to have more agreeable holiday photos.
Oh, potentially. So, I thought that game showed the value of the goalie when he plays as a midfielder. He's not, when this is a forward, he has those spectacular moments and you can go, wow, fuck, look how good he is. Look how explosive he is. In the midfield, he just does a lot of the solid stuff and he does it consistently. And people look at him and go, oh, you mustn't have had a good game. And it's like, no, he's had a pretty good game. It's just, he's not getting the chance to fucking be as explosively noticeable in the middle a lot of the time. So he kicked 2 goals as it was anyway. So,
yep.
He was great. Ash Johnson.
I really, really enjoy watching him develop. He only ended up with the 1 goal, I think, from memory. But some of his his intercept marking and stuff was really good, and his delivery by foot's really good. And you look at it and think, well, the output, was pretty much similar to sort of goal wise to what Henry was getting, and you're thinking, oh, really, is he deserving more of a nod than Henry at the moment? And you sort of got to go with I think he is.
Oh, he definitely is.
A hell of a lot more of a creative playmaker than Henry is. But I love Henry as well. So it's a bit of a dilemma. It's a nice dilemma to have, but it's one of those ones where you think you can have the two of them in that forward line.
Let me pose a slight hypothetical to you. Henry is not getting a game, and Collingwood are looking at McStay because Henry has told the club, I'm going.
Was he going?
Geelong.
Is he?
I don't know. I'm posing a hypothetical. So what do you think of that about, so Henry's sort of a little bit unceremoniously dumped. Collingwood's looking at McStay. I mean, none of us can really make sense of that. So does Collingwood know something about the list? And is that part of the reason maybe Henry's not getting a game?
Henry's out of contract, isn't he?
I don't know. He's
Maybe
been
another year to go.
what do the draftees get? 2 years. He's been there 2 years, so I don't know if they've re-signed him.
Yeah, maybe you should look this stuff up before this hypothetical comes out.
No, why would I need to? Because I mean,
No,
contracts mean nothing. So whether he's signed for another 9 years, we had Treloar signed until 2029, and he's now at the Bulldogs, and we're paying it out. People are talking about offloading Grundy, and he's signed until 2036. So I don't think contracts.
You get no sense that there's any issue. I think Henry's got a massive upside. I think it's just, he's obviously been sent back to the VFL to work a little bit more at his defensive game, but that's fine.
Does anyone really notice him in the VFL?
Look, at the end of the day, I don't think I see no sense in the McStay thing at any rate, unless we're going to play him as a defender. Like I said to the boys the other day, the only thing that really starts to make sense to me is like, Howe's 32. What would happen if he's already internally said, I'm pulling the pin at the end of the year, I'm going to retire? Yeah, we're a very competent defender short there. Whether they think they can bring McStay in to cover that, I don't know, because I can't see him working up forward. He barely kicks anything for Brisbane. His returns are fairly low in his forays up forward. As a defender, I don't think I've ever seen anything that's particularly grabbed me either. So it's a hard one to nut out what they're thinking there.
Well, as I'm saying,
I don't like the idea of Henry going to Geelong unless we're getting 3 first-round picks back.
Well, as I'm saying, I mean, the only sense I can make out of the McStay thing, and we bring it up regularly, is just internally the club know they're going to lose some players. Maybe Kruger came out to training and his arm fell off, and they're going, well, I don't know if we can put that back on. We needed some backup. So is he like a contingency because they know they're going to lose certain players? I mean, this year, McStay's played 16 games and he's kicked 16 goals and 11 behind. So, sorry, I've changed my mind. He's the next Peter Hudson. Let's bring him in.
But he's essentially, isn't he like the third tall at Brisbane?
He's behind Danaher and Hipwood. I mean, we would go for Hipwood.
You couldn't come from that to be the number one forward for us. He's just not big enough.
He's 195 centimeters. He's a bit bigger than the 4. He's 97 kilograms. So he's a decent size.
He's got a mature body, which is, maybe something else that they're looking for.
He
turns what? He's 27, 28 or something?
He's 27, 27 in 1 month, so he won't turn 28 until, July next year. But look, I don't know. I mean, we talk about this a lot. I don't know what the logic is here. I mean, even if you were going, we need to keep position, it's like, well, he's going to be 28. How much longer has he got in the game? You're going to sign him for 7 years. Next, Daniel Wells. Maybe it's just because his name's Daniel. They like it. They go, we need another Daniel at the club. I don't know. I have no idea. Josh Dacos, the other Dacos.
He's had a superb year. I think if it wasn't for Nick, everyone would be singing his praises a hell of a lot more. He's not really getting enough for the platitude that he deserves. He's been exceptionally solid this year.
The thing that impresses me is actually, I should say this. In the games we've won, it's interesting that we've won, and then you look at the votes, and often the opposition, they occupy the bulk or all of the votes. So it shows that, we don't have many consistently dominant players. But I actually think Josh Dacos has been one of the few players who's consistently had a great output throughout the whole game, pretty much week in, week out. And it might be getting lost a bit because our performances are so, I don't know. When we're down, we look really down. So he's probably not shining as much. And then when we're up, there's other players who are probably a bit more flashy at times. Mm-hmm. But consistently, I mean, I think he's got to be all-Australian wing, because I don't know of any other wingman who's doing as good a job as him week in, week out.
I'm sure the AFL, whoever selects this stuff, will find someone.
Yeah, I agree. It'll probably be McStay. But yeah, I think he should really, get in that all-Australian night. I don't know if he will. But hey, Nathan Murphy, another guy.
His defensive marking is sensational.
Yeah.
He doesn't really ever make too many mistakes. Yeah, I can recall.
Probably the only thing I'd ask is he tends to reflex kick out of defense sometimes a bit too much. So I actually like if he just maybe has a little bit of a look at times. But his marking's great, and his courage is just fanatical.
No, he reads the ball coming in beautifully at times. Just the positioning. It's just... He's become Captain Reliable.
I thought Pendlebury was Captain Reliable.
Well, he's the vice captain Reliable then.
Is he vice captain? I don't know.
No,
Yeah, he's done a great job. Hopefully that they actually hopefully he just stays upright for a good many weeks to come.
Oh, definitely.
Any other thoughts about this game? Because we've sort of gone over the horrible umpiring and the midfield. I don't know what you call it, capitulation at times. You had a few players, like I think Trent Bianco will be lucky to hold his spot for next week.
He had a shocker to start with, but he really worked his way back into the game.
I mean, the guy who really impressed is Josh Carmichael when he came on.
Yeah, another 12 possession games or something for. How long was he on for? Half?
No, he was on for about 12
When did
minutes.
Adams go off? It was at half time. Didn't come back on.
Yeah.
No, look, the one query I have around him, and again, this is just purely, I think, because he's just come from nowhere and hasn't been through much of the system. But when he debuted in that North game and I saw him chasing somebody, it was just slow as. So I think he's going to sort of drift in and out until they get his fitness up to scratch. I don't think they probably don't feel he can last a full game, possibly, which is, I guess, why he's been super sub the last couple of times. It'll be interesting whether he makes way this week or not with Adams out. That'll be an interesting dilemma.
I can't see him making way. You'd have to keep him in there.
I personally probably would. He's meant to be a bit of a beast inside. So, with Adams gone, that's exactly what we need. Plus, he can kick, so that's a plus.
Yeah, he's 190 centimeters, about 90 kilos. So he's already a good size physically. I mean, we used to talk about Callum Brown years ago and just say, like, we like him, but he just looks too small. And this guy's got that size on him that's always going to hold him in good stead. So I don't know what his fitness is like, but I hope they persevere with him. I mean, he came on for half a game. He got 12 possessions. He got 314 meters gained. He took that really nice mark, kicked a really valuable goal.
Yep.
It just shows a lot of composure.
No, he's looking the goods. Geez, they've had some successes with these mid-season picks.
Yeah. Next week's game, or this week's game, against Melbourne.
On a Friday night too. That's an unusual time slot to play footy, isn't it?
Yeah, we should play on Sundays.
Yeah, 3:20. We seem to do our best work then.
Yep.
Yes, this is going to be
Melbourne.
First of the big three tests.
So Melbourne's been very sporadic with their form, but they were really good last week. Now, whether they're getting their shit together or whether they're just, responding to criticism and then they're just going to lapse off again, don't know.
This will be a very good test of where we're at coming into finals. Now, obviously, we've won a lot of games, which is wonderful. We're there because we deserve to be there, but yes.
I don't think we deserve to be there. We've just fluked 10 wins in a row. Yeah.
Who on Twitter are you at the moment?
Yeah, and I mean, probably will benefit last time we played him when Gawn went off injured. But I think we'll probably play Grundy. Surely we're going to play Grundy this week.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. I mean, there's still that internal murmuring about. No, I think they said in the injury report that there's no guarantee he might get another crack in the twos this week. I guess it all comes down to how sore or tight or whatever he is after his first sort of hit out. I think it seems pretty obvious that McRae is keen as to get him back in as soon as possible. I don't know whether they'll take a risk on here or have a bit of an eye on the bigger picture, but I think like all of us, we're dying to see how it's going to work or how he's going to work inside of Collingwood 2.0.
Yeah,
whether it's going to be a bonus or be a bit of a detriment.
And Brody Mychek, you'd think, should be back.
Yeah, I think so. He was just sore, I think.
Yeah, I think he looked like he's been pretty tender for a few weeks. There was a game a while ago where they said he was he probably would have missed, but he ended up playing. He had a really good game, but I think from memory, McRae said, if the game was like a day earlier, he probably wouldn't have played. And I think they've probably just given him a spell because his body's taking a battering. Fortunately, Daniel McStay will fix that. But
or Grundy.
Yeah, so you're losing Taylor Adams. If Grundy comes in, you'd think that they're definitely going to have to Cox will definitely have to make way, or Cameron. One of those two is going to have to go. They're not going to play, surely, all three of them.
Well, who are you stopping in Melbourne's forward line? Fritsch is as a gun. Who's their other tall forward? The Wiedemann.
Wiedemann.
He's had some shocking form of late. No doubt he'll kick 10 against us this week. But I think there's also Howe went off with a corky, I think, or he came back on, but if he did suffer a corky, he could be out this week. So, and it comes down to this thing about do you want to win? I mean, obviously you want to win the three, but when do you start having an eye on the finals? You get that week's break, the bye before final start, so you can freshen a few blokes up. But are you going to start managing a couple now just to, at maybe the potential risk of losing a game inside of that three? Do you have your eye on the next couple of weeks instead of next week type thing? I don't know. It'll be very interesting at the selection table this week.
Yeah, I agree. Callum Brown's been really good in the reserves. I'm also interested, are they going to go back to win?
Good on him.
I do wonder if they're going to go back to him and give him a chance, or if they're just going to say, no, we've put a line for your name, or we'll go to someone like Finley McRae.
McRae, I saw there was, he's got another 30 touches or something on the weekend. Who they play on the weekend in the VFL?
Southport under 12s, I think it was. Are they a VFL team?
Some of those performances into context.
I
guess.
To be fair, Callum Brown's been good in the VFL for a while, but it's like, do you have something beyond that level? And, we've said it since 18. It's like, we like your work, but you're pretty small. So that's always going to be an issue. And Tyler Brown's got better size about him. Again, can he translate his VFL form to AFL form, or do they just go straight to McRae or Poulter, or just bring back Jack Magden? I mean, he's been buddy-like in the VFL, so...
Kick 3 goals up forward, he should be straight back in the defence.
He's on his way to.
He went up forward for the week to work out all their weaknesses.
Yeah. So you tip?
I think Melbourne by 10 goals.
Yeah, it sounds good to me. Melbourne by 10 goals.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm not particularly perturbed if we lose. If we lose badly, that'd be concerning. But I'm really keen to see what they start putting up over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think also Melbourne's
really keen.
I think Melbourne's also going to try and hit Collingwood hard, a little bit as payback, and a little bit as, we could be facing you in the finals. Let's do some damage here. So,
well, there would be a bit of that. You've got a very young side out there too. That a lot of them wouldn't have played finals. How many? I think one of my mates did a comparison of the 18 grand final side to who were running around out there. There's only about 9 of them that probably have finals experience. That probably would be about right, I would think.
Yeah, well, how you can solve that. Daniel McStay.
What about if we have a matter transport incident with Grundy and McStay, and we fuse the two of them together?
Into McGrundy.
No, McGrundy, that's it. We could probably win the next 10 flags.
Well, it'd be good to win 1, let alone 10. Yeah. So, any final thoughts?
No. I said I'm really looking forward to Friday night. I'm really, really keen to see what they throw up. They beat Melbourne again. Like, we've beaten them the last 2 times. They beat them again. You'd have to probably, even our stale old hearts would have to probably start getting not. You hate to use the word, but I'd start having some expectations set about what could possibly happen, and I don't like going there.
Well, look. I mean, I thought we were going to be bottom 6, so credit to the side. But the reality is, they've beaten Fremantle, they've beaten Melbourne, they've beaten Carlton, and was 6 goals up against Geelong. So I mean, they beat us, but we matched it with them for quite a bit of the game. So a form against the top 8 is pretty good. So
I mean, it is, but none of it really matters anymore. It's what happens over the next few weeks.
But just in terms of it's not like we're beating up on shit and then we're worried how we're going to do against better teams. I mean, against better teams have done well, so we can match it with them if we can play the game. Now, of course, the worry is, can we do it? So we'll see.
And self-belief can take you a long way, and clearly they've got that in abundance.
Yeah. Well, it's all about mindset. You put your mind to it. You can write a great fiction novel. Yeah. Your first science fiction novel. Anyway, that's it from us. Until next week.
And next week
Later.
when we'll be back in the world's cheapest studio.
It's not that cheap.
All
Later.
right, catch.